Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my thought for the week, my first one for some time. And I thought this morning I'd actually read a particular passage from the Bible, which always fascinates me. It's one of those ones I get frustrated when I hear speakers and commentators talk about it. You know, being a speaker myself on Sunday mornings and other events, you sometimes want to embellish the story, add in the missing bits which you think will just make the listener more understandable and appreciative of my skills and of course what the story is about. But this is one of those passages where the bits that I often hear speakers add in, I don't think are relevant to the story. So I'd like to read you from John chapter 8 and verse 2. It says this: At dawn, he, being Jesus, appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I," Jesus declared. "Now go and leave your life of sin." The context of this, the previous chapter, the Jewish leaders, the Sadducees and Pharisees, wanted to arrest Jesus, sent some troops to go and get him, but they couldn't. So this time they thought they'd go see him personally and see if they can catch him out. And whenever I've heard speakers speak on this, they pick on 2 points. Firstly is, where was the man? To commit adultery, it takes 2 to tango. So if they caught her in the act of adultery, well, they must have caught the man as well, and yet he's not in this group that's come forward. They've not brought the man with him to accuse them both. And secondly, so often I hear people talk about, well, what was Jesus writing in the ground? What was he doodling? What was he writing about? And I've seen theories of what it could have been. But it strikes me, it's not about what the woman was caught in. These people were trying to catch Jesus out. And I want to explain that first of all, but then I want to look at this scripture, what it means to me, because I think there's a challenge in here for me which gets missed. So they brought this woman caught in adultery. We know nothing more than that. Adultery is a man having sex with his neighbour's wife. That's the essential, and it can be worse, of course, out of wedlock. And she is brought forward. She's been walked down the streets. She would have been embarrassed. She would have been shamed. She would have been mocked, insulted. This woman would have been in a state, I don't know what state of dress she was in, whether she'd been fully clothed, I have no idea. But she's brought before Jesus. And these church synagogue leaders say, under the law of Moses, she should be stoned to death. That is what it says in the Old Testament. And it appears Jesus just writing in the sand or whatever he's doing, and he totally ignores them. They get frustrated. They ask him again. Look. And Jesus knows full well what they're doing. Because they're posing a question which, whichever way he stands, they can say he's guilty. If he says, "You're quite right, she should be executed for what she's done wrong," they would then say, "Ah, you're going against the Roman Empire because we don't have the authority to kill people for their wrongdoings." So he could say, well, because of what the Roman authorities say, I think we should let her go. Aha! Now, if you do that, then you're going against the law of Moses. It was a no-winning situation. And if you see that Jesus just carries on writing and says, he who's not committed a sin, let him cast the first stone. And that's the crunch for me of this scripture, because it's talking about, for me, as my personal challenge to me of this scripture is how we judge and criticize people. All through my life as a parent, in business, as church leader, I have to make judgments. I've got to decide what's right, what's wrong, and what degree of this and degree of that. That's the whole of life we do. But here, we're talking about how I view somebody else. And when I look at my life, it's quite easy to form judgments about people. But that's not bad, I hear you say. No, you're quite right. It's not bad to make judgments. It's then how that judgment affects your behaviour towards that person. They had already shamed her. They had already criticised and done whatever. But there was no sense of restoring the woman. We do not know what the situation was she found herself in. And that's the issue with Jesus, for me. The positive thing, he says, when they'd all stepped away one by one, the eldest, the wisest, thought, well, I can't throw the first stone. I'm not sinless. And Jesus says, where are all your condemners? Where are all your accusers? There's none left, basically, she's saying. Well, nor do I. Go, change your lifestyle. Jesus came to show people the kingdom of God. He came to give them hope. He came to restore people's lives. The Jewish system at the time was so bound by rules, you couldn't help but fail them, let alone in line of God's laws. And the danger I see in this scripture, for me, the warnings are, think how you judge other people and what you then do with it. If I'm angry, I'm cross, I try and control it. It's like squeezing a balloon. I squeeze it hard, but it pops out somewhere else. And anger has to have a route out somewhere. So if I'm angry with you on watching this screen, I'll take it out on the cat or on Louise, my wife. When you start judging people in a sense of damning them, condemning them, it starts to affect your behaviour towards them. I'm not saying you shouldn't be wary of people that have done wrong, but those, you think about how you look at anybody. They say within the first 20 seconds of meeting somebody the first time, you've made up your mind. And it's interesting how long it would take you to change your view when you get to know that person. Sometimes after half an hour of chatting with them, sometimes years. We form judgments very quickly. And when people do wrong, they need support. They need help. And God says, I use the likes of you, Barry, and those around you, like you watching me now. So, what does that mean? It means when I deal day to day with people, I can form a view in my mind. I must control the actions that then go with it. I must continually show unconditional love. I must show support when inside I'm perhaps struggling with what they've done. It is that classic, what would Jesus do? I don't know what time of the day you're going to be listening to my little chat, but within 24 hours of you listening to my talk, you will come across a person where you're going, don't know. That's the time to seek God and say, how can I help? How can I restore? How can I rebuild? How can I make a difference to help? I'll leave my simple thought with you. Have a great day. Have a great week. And God bless you.